Welcome to the Indiana 4-H Clover Call podcast, where our goal is to share information about the people and programs that make the Indiana 4-H Youth Development Program such an important part of our communities. We welcome youth and adult 4-H volunteers, 4-H youth and their families, extension professionals, and any others who are interested in providing positive opportunities for youth. We thank you for joining us for this episode, which begins now.
Welcome to the edition of the Clover Call podcast. I'm Adam Tyler, and I am a 4-H educator in Fountain County. And today I am joined by three of our area directors, Denise Schroeder, Kelly Heckaman, and Molly Hunt. So today we're going to start off talking to Denise. And Denise, just to start with this today to tell our listeners, what counties do you oversee and what all do you do as a director within your area?
Okay, so thanks, Adam. I oversee White, Benton, Jasper, Newton, Fountain, Montgomery, and Tippecanoe counties. And so Tippecanoe County and basically the surrounding counties. And what all do I do as an area director? Probably the biggest thing is supervise educators and make sure that policies being covered and things like that from campus, as far as things like that. And then also assist educators if there are issues that come up and things that they, need help with as far as handling those issues.
Okay. So if you could just kind of share with our listeners today, what is your background in extension and what led you to become or want to become an area director?
Okay. Let's see. I went to Purdue a long time ago because I wanted to become an extension educator. At that time, they were agents. And we had a home economist in White County whose name was Alice Chitty. And I wanted Alice Chitty's job when I went to college. It took me about 10 years to actually get to that point. But I came back I had taught school for a while and things like that, and worked for the Navy. And did some various things like that, and eventually ended up in extension in 1995 and have been here ever since. And when I came, I was perfectly happy just being an educator. Absolutely loved it. But my predecessor in White County retired as CED. I became CED. Thought, oh, this is pretty fun. I really like this. Was asked to be an interim area director up in Area 10 a few years ago, and found out that I really, really enjoyed working with educators and helping them build their programs and things along those lines. And so when the opportunity came to be able to apply for area director position, I did that. And so I've been an area director since June 1st of 2021. So that's kind of how I became an area director.
Okay. So if you would pick kind of one of the top things that's your favorite thing that you, out of all the time being an area director, what's probably the one thing that stood out as the most fun thing you can say about being an area director would be that you could share with the audience? I'm
going to pick two. One is the hiring. I absolutely love the hiring. I like being able to, it's kind of like putting a puzzle together. I like being able to hopefully put together a county team that works well together. And then to piggyback on that, I really enjoy working with the educators to help them build and grow their program within their community and then across the area also.
Okay, awesome. So now if we kind of take a look at 4-H a little bit here, what are some within your area that you oversee, what are some exciting things that are happening within the 4-H programs in your area?
So probably the most exciting thing that's happening in Area 9 right now is the fact that we have about half of our 4-H educators are new. We have 3 new ones starting June 1. And so just seeing the new ideas that they are bringing to the positions and seeing how that grows is just absolutely amazing to me.
Awesome. Okay. And then the last question I have for you is from a 4-H standpoint, where do you see 4-H going within, and this is going to be just not within the area, but even across our state, where do you see 4-H going in the next several years? And what are your goals as an area director as far as 4-H for your area?
One of the big things I see to help 4-H grow is maintaining our traditional audience, but reaching outside that traditional audience to help grow 4-H. Because honestly, the number of farm kids is not getting any larger usually, because of the percentage of folks that live, in rural areas. Even though Indiana is a very rural state, the percentage of folks who actually live and are classified as living in a rural area is quite small. And so I think that we need to continue to reach out to new audiences to grow 4-H, but we also need to maintain those relationships with our traditional audience too.
Okay. Awesome. I really appreciate you, Denise, sharing today and sharing your insights and letting people get to know you a little bit more so they know who's over, the different areas. And I appreciate your time. So the next area director I would like to interview today is Kelly Heckaman. So Kelly, to start out, if you could you share with the listeners which counties you oversee as area director?
Thank you, Adam. I cover what we in Purdue Extension world call Area 11, which are the 9 counties in the northeast corner of Indiana, which includes LaGrange, Steuben, Noble, DeKalb, Whitley, Allen, Huntington, Wells, and Adams. I hope I didn't miss any. And what was my other question after that?
That was a big one right there. We just wanted to see, because I know you have a very large area in a lot of counties, so that gives everybody a good idea on that. So now the next question would be what's your background in extension and what led you to become an area director?
Well, I am a former 10-year 4-H'er. How's that? And I went to the Ohio State University and University of Wisconsin, not to go into extension. My original goal was to get a PhD in dairy genetics. And somewhere along the line, working on that master's degree, I'm like, no, I think I enjoy working with people more than I enjoy being in a laboratory. So with a very specific degree in dairy genetics, I thought, well, if I come back to Indiana, maybe extension is what I could do. So I started an extension 20 some plus years ago in the agriculture and natural resources side, and kind of been there ever since until about 20, I don't know. Molly been doing a lot of interim roles and officially, I think, became area director then in 2021. Sorry, I can't remember. There was the pandemic skewed a lot of things for many of us. And the opportunity to be an area director was just to do something different, a new challenge, and the opportunity to work and mentor educators.
Okay, that's awesome. And now, so if you had to pick, I know Denise picked a couple, and you can pick a couple, or if you want to pick a little more than that. But if you had to pick, what are some of the favorite things about being an area director you would like to share with our audience today?
For me, I really enjoy working with the educators and mentoring them and helping them to be successful so that I don't have to hire them as much. So Denise enjoys hiring them. I want to keep them so I don't have to go through the hiring process very much. And I really enjoy celebrating their successes. So when they try something new and are extremely successful, and sometimes even if they're not, right, you just that opportunity to try. And I enjoy sharing the great things that they're doing with, not only people in their county, in the area, and with our state program leaders. I've got a lot of outstanding educators that I get to work with on a daily basis. So I just enjoy the diversity of their backgrounds and the great things that they're doing.
Awesome. So now from a 4-H standpoint, within your area, I know you have a very large area. But out of all those counties, what are some of the exciting things that you'd like to let our listeners know that are happening within 4-H, within your different program areas, within your counties?
Well, this is an easy question. The educators have been doing some really great work in the past year or so.
Mhm.
They worked together as an area to do what they
Mhm.
called some STEAM workshops. And they did that kind of where they could be hosted in the local county. And then they had a presenter that virtually presented to the participating from one county to the rest. So they did woodworking and had over 70 kids working on a woodworking project. They did like a cookie and canvas night and had almost like 95 kids participate. So it's been an extremely successful venture for them. And it wasn't marketed just to 4-H youth. It was marketed to all youth in their counties, and they were able to attract numerous new 4-H members through these activities. We had another educator who addressed a need that was brought to her by one of her local veterinarians about the lack of or the decrease of youth majoring in veterinary nursing at Purdue. So she recently, here a few weeks ago, just hosted a veterinary nursing program and had the kind of the director from Purdue joined them, and she did a kind of a live for 150 youth and adults and had 114 others join virtually. So I think that's just a great example of how we in Extension can take a need that's expressed to us and be successful and deliver and help address that need. And then, the other great thing, we have a lot of great STEM programming happening in Area 11. We have some in reaching all the different school systems with STEM programming, and just, and the area works together really well. They're getting ready for 4-H camp. And then I'm going to hold some other great ideas they've been working on for another question you have coming.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's a lot of neat things going on in your area for sure. So now, if you kind of, from an area director standpoint, where do you see 4-H going in the next several years? And what are some of the goals you have for your area for 4-H in the next, for the next several years coming?
Well, my first goal would be to have all positions fully staffed. Where we have I actually have another new educator joining us here next week. So excited to have her coming. And then we have one other position that we're working on. So look forward to having it fully staffed. Like Denise in our area, we have oh my gosh, about 60% of our youth educators who have 2 years or less of experience. So it's been a real rebuilding opportunity in Area 11. So I look forward to the group to continue to work together. There are some in this group who recognize that 4-H can no longer stay the same. We need to start looking at new and innovative project areas. And so I've got some educators that are kind of taking a look at this list and building some ideas that could really kind of reshape what 4-H looks like in the future. And with Allen County and Fort Wayne being in Area 11, there's obviously a huge opportunity here, as Denise said, to reach out to new audiences. And we got to figure out how we're going to do that. What does that look like? And be able to build that programming in the city of Fort Wayne. And it's probably not obviously going to look like traditional 4-H, but we've got to figure out how to meet the needs of the youth in the city to make sure that we provide them opportunities that maybe weren't available to them as well. And then also looking at some potential creating some mobile STEM labs that can be driven around the area and create a more hands-on opportunity outside the formal classroom setting. So, I think the sky is the limit as far as our creativity, and the more creative are, and we find funding partners who help share that vision for what the future could look like for 4-H. But I hope 4-H doesn't look like it does today 5 years from now, right? We need to have some new and different elements to it, while also maintaining kind of those strong traditional bases that built 4-H, but an opportunity to help reach new audiences, diverse audiences that we've never had the opportunity to work with before. And I think in Area 11, we're poised to do that.
Awesome. I really appreciate you sharing today, Kelly. That had a lot of really neat things, and for our listeners get to hear what's going on up in your area. And our third area director we're going to get to talk to today is Molly Hunt. So Molly, if you could just tell the listeners which area in your area, what counties do you oversee as area director?
Hi, Adam. Thank you. So I am over Area 7, which runs along the east central part of the state of Indiana. So I cover Blackford, Jay, Delaware, Madison, Randolph, Rush, Wayne, Henry, Fayette, Franklin, and Union. So 11 counties down that eastern side of the state of Indiana.
Okay. Wow. Between you and Kelly both have you have a lot of counties, and I know Denise had quite a few too. So it's neat for the listeners to get to see for you all as area directors, you all do oversee a quite big area. So it's from an area director standpoint, if you think about what was it that brought you into being an area director, and then share with our listeners, what is your background, within Extension?
Yeah, so thank you, Adam. I've been with Extension for just over 10 years. I hit my 10-year anniversary in April. I feel bad because I remember my anniversary with Extension, and to this day, I cannot tell you what my wedding anniversary is. And it's 12 years this year, but I don't think my husband's listening to this podcast, so I think we're good. Sometime in June, I don't know. 10 years with Extension. Prior to Extension, my educational background is in public affairs, legal studies, criminal justice. If you would have asked 20-year-old Molly, she was going to be a family lawyer and change the world. I got a little bit of world under my belt in between graduating with my undergraduate degree and applying for law schools, and met my husband in there. And surprisingly, there are no law schools in Blackford County, Indiana, where we reside. So I chose to go the route of grad school. And I went to Ball State for a public administration degree with a focus on child welfare. And graduated in 2011. So after that, I worked as a social worker, a home-based social worker for children who were in unsubstantiated cases of child abuse and neglect. It was a very stressful job. And so when the Educator left the position in Blackford and Jay County, which was a split position at the time in health and human sciences, I interviewed for that job. 13 weeks postpartum, like my daughter was 13 weeks old when I joined Extension, and I've been with it ever since. So
Awesome.
I transferred from Blackford and Jay over to Delaware County to be full-time in one county about 5 or 6 years ago. Eventually became CED, and when Paul Marcelino retired, Kelly and I split the district, which is a total of 26 counties, between the two of us, and served as an interim area director for 19 months and 26 days, not counting, during the COVID pandemic, and became officially official sometime last year.
Oh, wow. That's that's unique background for sure, and how it kind of led you into Extension. And it's just neat hearing all three of you, how your path has kind of led you to Extension. And I appreciate you sharing that today. So if you think of, from being an area director, what is kind of your favorite thing or favorite part of being an area director?
Okay, so I'll share two things. So part of it is the people and really the staff. I've been in Area 7 my entire tenure. So these are people that I have known for the last decade. Most of them I've watched their lives evolve, the accomplishments they've had personally and professionally. And so being in this area director role really lets me celebrate those things with them, and really know the successes on, it feels like a really deep level, because I know the historical background of the community. You know, I know how hard it might have been 5 or 6 years ago, that now to see the progress and see the awesome, like, raised public profile of extension, how that's changed because of the work of the educators. It's really awesome. The other part is I'm kind of a numbers geek. Like, I love the finances side. I don't know if it's my public administration background, but I love negotiating contractual services. I might be the only person in extension that loves negotiating contractual services. But in Area 7, we've had an increase in contractual services of over $350,000 over the last 2 years, bringing our contractual services well over $1 million. And for me, that's such a huge accomplishment in Area 7, because it speaks to the value the community sees in the services we provide, and that they continue to go to extension and they continue to invest in extension as a solution for the problems that their communities face. So that's a really cool progress to see as well.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And then from a 4-H standpoint, what, I guess, like within your area, I know you have a very large area too, but what are some of the exciting things you would like to share with our listeners that are happening within the 4-H programs within your area? Yeah.
So there is so much great stuff. I could take up the duration of your entire podcast. I'm going to lift out 2 things because they're at the top of my head, because I just talked to those staff members, not because somebody else isn't doing more awesome stuff. So one of them that's really neat to me is the 4-H Soccer for Success program. So Allison Keene in Jay County, our 4-H youth educator there, is working with Zia Mara to bring that program there to expand youth soccer skills and the coaches' soccer skills and fundamentals. So if anybody's ever coached PAL or youth football or soccer like me, it's not always a lot of skills, and it's more like herding cats at those early ages. So Soccer for Success is bringing those fundamental skills, as well as mentoring, the nutrition, helping youth set goals. I mean, just a lot of really cool things, and it's a neat program. And that's really speaking to a needs assessment that she did there that was identifying youth who had low graduation rates, and high absenteeism rates. And so hoping that these soccer programs encourage youth to go to school if this is an after school opportunity. So I find that up to be a really creative solution to a societal problem that we're having there. Another really cool thing that's happening is our 4-H Livestock Ambassadors program here in Area 7. So this was created, it's kind of like junior leaders, but for the livestock program. And so this has had great success, and it's been duplicated and replicated in Area 7 by multiple other educators. And Alicia Criswell and Julie Wilson are heading to the National 4-H Conference this year, and they've been selected to present on their 4-H Livestock Ambassadors program. So I'm really excited for them to share this program nationwide and see if perhaps it can have further implementation.
That's awesome. And then from an area director standpoint, where do you see within your area, or where it can be across the whole state, where do you see 4-H going in the next few years? And what are some of the goals you have as an area director for your area in 4-H?
Yeah, so I think my answer will probably be much like Kelly and Denise's, is that I see 4-H growing and evolving. I think that it looks like not abandoning our traditional base. We know we have a history of making the best better. So how do we bring that to every youth in the state of Indiana? How do we, as area directors, help forge state level or regional partnerships? How do we support our educators in those county level partnerships to reach more youth, all youth, underserved youth. Again, because we know how successful the 4-H program is and how that mission can change youth's lives. How do we spread that out so that more youth are able to participate in that? And so for me as an area director, really, I'm excited about supporting our educators through this evolution, helping them think creatively about partnerships and future collaborations. And again, because I like the negotiation part of things, how can I support that on a more regional or statewide level with broader organizations to create, an easier collaboration at the local level?
That's awesome. And I just want to thank, as we wrap up our podcast today, I just want to once again thank you, Denise and Kelly and Molly, for just sharing today and giving everybody a little bit of an insight of what goes on in each of your areas and what your backgrounds are, so they can get to know each of you. And also, what are your thoughts on 4-H, and what are some really neat things going on in your areas within 4-H? Because this is one goal, we really want to get our listeners kind of to share with them, just because I know a lot of people we find are kind of stuck in their little area and they don't always know what goes on outside. So this is really neat for them to see some of the really neat things that are happening across our state, and the other areas across. So I just want to thank each of you for being on the podcast today and sharing with our listeners. And I just want to thank each of our listeners today for joining in with the Indiana 4-H Clover Call podcast. Thank you and have a great day.
Interested in learning more about Indiana 4-H? We invite you to visit our website, extension.purdue.edu/4H, or contact your local Purdue Extension office and ask for the 4-H Youth Development Extension Educator. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast so you won't miss an episode. We look forward to joining you again on the next Indiana 4-H Clover Call.